This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. In the room, this and every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., you have Eric Latif, Ndu Oko, and C.T. Muga. So there's a question online by Sid Otuga who's asking, are we still going to have Raila Odinga on the show? Yes, Sid Otuga, but it's not today. It's actually going to be on Thursday morning, 7 a.m. We'll be having the leader of opposition, Raila Odinga, in the studio with us for a conversation. For now, let's have a conversation about the COVID-19 economic recovery. So the government has a strategy. It's rolled out the strategy. The county governments have rolled out the strategy. There were various organizations that have come together to help the government in rolling out this strategy. One of these organizations that says, all right, so we want to participate in the economic recovery of the country is our friends at Google. So they recently had a conversation, the heads of various business organizations from the USA with our president, Uhuru Kenyatta. And among the people in that meeting was the Google CEO, Sundar Pichai. And he made this, just like a conversation on the sidelines of this talk where he said, you know what, as Google, we are going to put aside some money to help in the economic recovery of the country in what you're doing. And we are just looking at something in the tune of about $10 million. Yeah, $10 million. That's $1 billion shillings.
$1 billion plus, actually.
Coming into the country from Google to go into various sectors. So let's first of all understand $1 billion shillings. So where is this going? Is it buying PPEs?
Oh, please don't buy PPEs.
Don't buy PPEs.
No, don't buy PPEs.
No, actually, let's start from
Is it financing the referendum?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's been given to the country. Or has it been given to the president so that he can, as it was reported, decide what would be the best use it can be put to? Has it gone straight to the treasury?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it sitting in some bank account?
Is it going to have like...
Or is it sitting in the Google bank account in Kenya, waiting, if there is such a thing like a Google bank account, waiting to be disbursed?
So let's bring in the boss herself. Google Country Director for East Africa, Agnes Gathaiya, joins us on the line now. Good morning, Agnes.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning,
Lovely to be here again.
Lovely to have you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So you, first of all, I think you can pass our regards to everybody at Google and tell them asante sana for all the good work that you're doing.
But Eric, before you ask this serious question you're about to ask, Agnes, that picture behind you, that painting.
Can I move slightly so you can see it?
Yes, move slightly to your right. Excellent. Take a minute and tell us a little bit about this picture, please. The last time I looked at it, I'm looking at it today. I find it fascinating.
It's wonderful. So I bought this picture from an artist called Wiki.
Mm-hmm.
Wycliffe. I met him at Kuonatra. And it's a place I like to spend time on Saturday afternoon. It's actually an extremely zen place to be, just walking around and looking at art. And he was working on this piece, and I loved it. And the reason why I loved it is because, as you can see, this is a scene from any of the informal settlements we have. But what I loved about it is the dignity in it. The water looks clean. It's evening. There's lots of movement. There's people. They look like they're coming from work. There's a lady who has just picked her child from school. And so poverty can have dignity. And so that is why I love this picture. Now, working for a multinational like Google, I love having it behind me because all the conversations we have, I remind them why we are doing what we're doing.
That poverty can have dignity.
Yes.
Life must be dignified in all ways. So, City, you and Agnes are art connoisseurs, clearly.
I actually love the idea of art and things artistic, but if you're talking about being a connoisseur, having knowledge, my knowledge on a scale of 1 to 10 is probably a half.
Okay, so it's even below the scale. So let's get into the conversation then, Agnes. the recent announcement by Google that there's going to be $1 billion shillings plus that's being passed on from Google to help in Kenya's economic recovery. Just tell us about that. Then we get into asking the questions of what and where the money goes.
Okay. So maybe I can take us a little bit behind because it's a story that continues from when I was last here.
Yep.
So when I was last here, that was in September, and we had just launched our, what we were calling at the time, our post-COVID economic recovery program. At that time, the whole world thought we had finally shaken this thing off. And now we were at a point of rebuilding the economy and moving on. The second wave and everything that is happening right now has told us otherwise. But last time I announced a fund for SMBs where we were going to help SMBs go online. We were also going to work with teachers and educators, and we're going to work with women's groups through our google.org organization. Now, since then, what happened is across Africa, we had targeted 300,000 SMBs to be reached to help them go online, to set up their Google profiles, as well as build for them business sites and provide them an access to market through something called Market Finder. Mm-hmm. Now, that was an 18-month program. What has happened is the 300,000, the 500,000 that we had targeted, we have already reached over 300,000 in 30% of the time. So we started asking ourselves, so what happens when we outgrow this? Because clearly the need is there.
Yep.
And we need to continue supporting these SMBs. Another thing we did last year is we worked with tech startups, 20 tech startups, and we put them through this accelerator program where we got them mentors, we trained their developers, and we did really good work with them. And then we asked ourselves, okay, we do this year on year. We actually train these startups, they go to market, and a lot of them raise some good capital or good private equity funds to be able to move along. And we asked ourselves, is that a space that we can get into, and what more can we do for them? So Sunda was scheduled to have a meeting with President Kenyatta. It was a bilateral meeting and a fireside chat. An amazing honor to have him here in Kenya. And indeed, everybody he spoke to challenged him now to come and visit physically with his family and enjoy Kenya. Mm-hmm. And we're really hoping that he takes up that invitation. Now, in that bilateral conversation, one of the things he and his office challenged us is, fine, you've told us all the amazing things that you have done this year. What more can we do to ensure that we continue building these SMBs? So that's where the whole conversation of the $10 million came from. The $10 million is split into three buckets. $3 million as for small business loans. Mm-hmm. We're channeling these loans through an organization called Kiva.org. Kiva.org specializes in managing micro loans to micro businesses. So not even the small SME as we define them. Because we learned, especially from the granting that we gave through Shofco, to the women businesses in Kibera and other communities they work in, that it's great to give them grants, but now once they're on the ground, they actually need additional support, for example, to build their capital. And so we partnered with this organization called Kiva. So this should be going live. And if anybody is interested in those facilities, they should they should go to the kiva.org website and be able to access the funds from there.
When you say micro, Agnes, what's the
Yeah.
level of micro here?
In Kenya shillings, of course.
We're talking about something like $2,000, 200,000 shillings, 500,000 Kenya shillings.
Okay.
So, and what we've done is, of course, these loans are highly subsidized, and who we are targeting is who can't walk into a commercial bank and have that conversation. So what Kiva.org has done, it's a global organization, is they've come with other matrices for determining your creditworthiness.
Okay.
Yes.
So we are basically talking about, let's say, the corner shop, the
Yes.
traders in markets, and such. You run a kinyozi, such
Those are who we are
such
targeting.
businesses.
Yes.
All right. So that's $3 million.
That's $3 million.
Quite a substantial amount. And this is just for Kenyan businesses.
Yes, this is only for Kenyan businesses.
Okay. So tell us about the rest of the money.
So we also have about $5 million for tech startups. So remember I talked about the 20 we trained last year.
Yeah.
But over the years, we have been doing we actually have an existing program where we train tech startups. So what we are doing is a forward integration where we are saying, okay, so we take these startups through training and they come out on the other end. Is there an opportunity for us to then put some money behind them in terms of private equity? So we have a division within Google called Corporate Development. It's the investment arm of Google. And they have given us this $5 million to see if we can put money towards tech startups. Most of the transactions they handle are very, very large, $100 million plus. So this wallet is going to allow us to test the water to see if there's an opportunity for us to actually build a pipeline of tech startups who we can support from the bottom as they come up.
When you say...
So that's another $5 million.
Sorry, Agnes. When you say that
Go
Kiva came up with a matrix, a way to determine someone's creditworthiness, can you talk a little bit more about this? What it involves, what they look for?
So we've worked with Kiva for many years as Google, as a partner. So the mechanics of how they determine who gets the facilities, I'm not very aware of. But if anybody goes on the site, they should be able to get all the information they need on how to apply. But we've worked with them successfully globally in quite a number of different markets. And this, we're very fortunate that we're going to work with them for the first time in this market.
Okay.
In terms of longevity of some of these projects, I mean, because we're obviously looking at money that's going towards, small businesses, and then looking at money that's going towards startups. In terms of making sure that these run the course of their lives in business, what else apart from giving money directly to the businesses is happening here, so that we know it's kind of like not a flash in the pan, money coming out, and then making sure that they actually survive the business cycle.
So one of the things when money is given, we commit to outcomes. So each of this money has earmarked outcome. What are we trying to achieve? And one of the things we do is, even though these monies sound like small wallets, if we are successful with this, we then have a leg to stand on to go back to Google and say, look what we've done with this. It was very well received. We have been able to get the outcomes that we wanted. And through google.org, there's a whole monitoring and evaluation to ensure that the money not only goes where it's supposed to go, but it's spent right, and we're able to measure the outcomes of that. So for us, that the outcomes part is the most important. And then the team here in Kenya can go back to Google and say, look at the difference we made on the ground with what you gave us. Are you able to then unlock more? Yes.
Okay.
Talking about the startups, this $5 million earmarked to support tech startups. When you say tech startups, some people sometimes may just think about, okay, tech startup means that this is somebody who's a developer, coding, and such kind of. Is there an array of what you define as tech startup?
Yes. Why don't I give you an example?
Yes.
Many years ago, one of the first tech startups that came through our accelerator program.
Okay, sorry, I think we've lost Agnes here for a bit. John, let's see if we can get her back here, and then we continue the conversation. So talking about tech startups, talking about 5 million shillings that have been set aside by Google to support tech startups in the country. And she's telling us about this arm in Google called the corporate development, which is like the investment arm. So she's back online. You there now, Agnes?
Yes, I'm here.
Glad to have you. So you were telling us about this particular example of one of the tech startups that came through your accelerator program.
Yes. So a few years ago, one of the tech startups we put through our program was Trigger Foods. So Trigger Foods is not your typical tech startup in terms of having technology for the sake of technology. They had an ambition to transform the lives of farmers through providing them access to markets and using technology as the backbone of how they operate. So there's an application process, and again, it's based on outcomes and what part of the community or what challenges you're trying to solve with the technology you're deploying. Mm-hmm. So we are unable to, for example, have 100 tech startups trained at the same time because of the amount of resources we actually inject into each one of them. But once they get into the program, we then help them, and that's why we call it an accelerator program, because 70% of everybody who graduates from our accelerator program actually is able to access private equity.
And when you come in at that initial stage, as Google, you're coming in as an investor, and therefore you're taking in some equity?
So when we say we work with tech startups, all we are doing is training them, providing them tools, providing them mentorship, augmenting their developers' skills, and we do not take any equity at that point. So this new $5 million support for tech startups, what we are currently doing is now framing the how. How are we going to consume it? Is it going to be equity or is it going to be debt? And each company needs a different combination of each.
Sure. Agnes, what's in it for Google? I mean, that's the question that sometimes stares down at us. So what is in it for this company? I mean, it sounds nice to say all these wonderful things being done for Kenya and Kenyans. But then how does the company benefit from all of this?
So at this specific point, and I remember you asked me this question last time also. So at this particular point, Google cannot thrive in this environment if the economy is limping. So we have to do our part. So Google has been here for 13 years. We have made lots of different investments in this country. And Google prides itself as being a true country partner. Mm-hmm. So for right now, things are not going well in Kenya. And we're trying to figure out where can we intervene, where we have skills to intervene, the resources to intervene, to help everybody get back on their feet so that we go back to our business. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And do you see this as an opportunity to still handhold a lot of people in the environment, even without things like COVID, whereby a company that operates in country like Google, even without an issue as serious as COVID has dealt on the economy, isn't it an opportunity for you to continue as Google to make sure that, you're helping here and there where individuals need help, or companies need help, like in the accelerator program that you do?
So the accelerator program has been running for quite a number of years, and we are proud of it. Mm. Now, what we are trying to do is we are trying to say, can we do more than just accelerating them and throwing them back into the market?
Right.
can we provide support in terms of debt and equity to ensure that they continue to live and thrive. So we are learning a lot of lessons from here that we are going to take forward. So for example, another thing that we are looking at is we've been training developers in Kenya for very many years. Indeed, 40% of all developers in Kenya have gone through the Google developer curriculum and training and graduated. So one of the questions we're asking ourselves is this sustainable? And how can we scale it? So one of the conversations, for example, that Sunda had with President Kenyatta was around, can we help Kenya develop developer curriculum at the TVET level, where then we're able to scale. So instead of saying we've trained 100 developers this year, if it becomes part of the curriculum in the TVET training colleges, and we are able to ensure its quality and be able to certify it as Google, then we are able to train thousands and thousands of developers and then create a brand new market of developers in Kenya. Because one of the things we released a digital economy report that said we have fewer developers in Africa than we need, than the speed of innovation right now. So those are the conversations we are having. So we are trying to rethink the model for some of the things that we do. And we're trying to say, how do we scale them? How do we make them sustainable so that if tomorrow, I don't know what happened, that those programs would continue to have legs and would have longevity.
Okay, so you told us about so we're talking about a $10 million kind of funding that's coming to Kenya. 3 million shillings going to SMEs, 5 million shillings going to tech startups.
Dollars.
That is
Dollars.
What did I say? Shillings.
Shillings.
$10 million. Hey, yes, $10 million.
1.1
There's
billion.
nothing like $10 million shillings. It's either dollar or shillings. Okay. Yes.
1.1 billion.
1.1 billion shillings. So far we are at $8 million. Where is the rest of the 2 million going to? What's it being earmarked for?
So we always leverage on Google.org. Google.org is the equivalent of our foundation. And they've earmarked $2 million this year towards work with women and children. Now, they haven't started receiving applications for those, and we'll be able to tell you when people can, or organizations that are working in those spaces can put in their applications. But that is already committed for this year, the $2 million.
In how many African countries are you doing this same thing?
So this specific announcement was for Kenya only.
Aha.
Yes.
So this is all our money.
This is all our money.
Okay. That question that City asked, it sounds like, you're just speaking in jest. So where is the money? Is the money coming to the National Treasury and then it's disbursed from there? Is it coming through Google and then now Google sort of managing the finances and managing the entire program? Where is the linkage between what Google, government, money?
Okay. So the money sits within Google.
Okay.
Until it's ready for disbursement to the receiving organization. Now, what we've done is we have aligned the priorities of where the money is going to what government priorities are.
Okay.
So, for example, the Ministry of ICT is currently running a tech startup competition for youth. And what we are going to do is, as we look at our startups who we have trained, we are also going to work with them to see if there are startups within that environment who can benefit from this. When we talk about 3 million for small business loans and our continued work that we are doing to digitize SMEs, one of the key focuses, as the President mentioned many, many times on our call, is that we must find a way to ensure that SMEs survive this.
Right.
So we've taken what are government priorities. We have then aligned them to where we are putting the different wallets of money. And what we are going to continuously do is report back to government on the impact and the outcomes we have come up with. Another thing even is our SME program. We're actually working with a number of organizations that fall under Ministry of Industry to ensure that the SMEs they support also get digitized. So there's a lot of alignment and a lot of conversations that take place. So what will happen is the money will move from Google to the ultimate beneficiary.
Okay.
But we will ensure that everything we are doing is aligned with what government wants to do for the economic recovery period.
Thank you very much, Agnes. And thank you for shedding light on how this money is going to be disbursed as well. So if you're an SME and you'd like to apply some of these $3 million in funding to SMEs, just go to kiva.org. That is kiva.org. Am I right, Agnes?
Yes.
So kiva.org, get more information about this and find out and how you can take advantage, because this is money that is available to support businesses at this particular point when businesses are suffering. This cannot have come at a better time. Thank you very much, Agnes. Agnes Gathaiya is the Google Country Director for East Africa. Asante sana for speaking to us today. Let's speak to you again in a few days' time. Just to let you know that the Situation Room is a tech startup. So,
and we are also very seriously involved in issues pertaining to women and children.
Yes.
I look forward to receiving your application.
Time for us to take a break on KTN Home. We'll be back shortly. This conversation continues.
87.9 Spice FM, Mombasa.